right, hey data rockstars, we are here back with our Fun with Data series. So, fun with your data. What we like to do is access real data that we have in our own accounts, whether that's Uber, Redfin, all sorts of other places like Eventbrite, or today, Last.fm music track Scrabbles, because it's just a lot more fun when you're looking at your own data. You understand the products more, how you use them, and the attributes that you have and everything like that. So that makes it a lot more fun to learn how to visualize and work with the different tools when it's data about us. So maybe it's a little narcissistic, but then again, so is all of social media and everything else. But it's just another way for us to connect a little bit more meaningfully through the data instead of just some boring examples in a book. So that's why we are here. And today we have Last.fm. So I don't know if everyone here might know what Last.fm is, but we can check it out over here. It's been around quite a while, so I've been using it since 2005, which is crazy and does make me a little bit dated and all of this sort of thing. But what's really cool about it is, why not just track with Spotify alone in all the music tracks we have, because they have an incredible end of year little Spotify wrapped presentation that they give us every year. It's kind of like an almost pre-Christmas gift of all the cool little data, and you swipe through it, and then you can share it to your Instagram story or whatever happens to be the platform of choice at the time. Yeah, but Spotify wasn't around in 2005, and who knows if it'll be around in 2035. So it is kind of neat to have everything in one place with data. So that's one thing about data ownership and control. You'll see exporting of data from Facebook or Google, all these data portability acts. And we'll probably jump into some of those pieces as well in some future series of Fun with Your Data. But we have this. So they already have a pretty cool dashboard, and you can look at your own profile or other people's profiles here on Last.fm. And the way it connects to your account is two ways. You can download a desktop scrobbler that runs in the background, and whether you're using iTunes or Windows Media Player, or we'll focus sometimes on this, or you're using Spotify, it can scrabble that to your track. Or you can log into your Spotify account directly and it'll have that. And so as time goes by, each track you listen to goes into here, and then you can see the history of Scrabbles, the artists, the albums, and the tracks that you listen to. So you can see what I've been listening to in the last 30 days. That's one thing to call out up there. You can check that instead of last 30 days. You can see I'm listening to a little bit of dance music. You can switch it to all time, and then the emo and others will, and anything else on my yoga playlist when I teach yoga, will come up here on the list quite a bit higher than the other stuff that I just started listening to just a few months ago. So maybe there are some different trends and genres and things like that that you'd be able to see. But what's really cool here is they allow an API connection to be able to be accessed. And so I published a Tableau public file with graphs already created that show my data, although we can swap that data out for yours. But what's really cool is there's a developer, benjaminbenben.com. He has published to GitHub. As you can see, this is a web page embedded in a Tableau dashboard. You can actually embed a real page right here in there. Tableau will give you a little warning when you open it just because of security and things like that. But it is right here. And all you have to do is type that in. Might have to refresh here. I don't know what happened. It didn't like my little dialog box there, but we've got that in the first tab, intro and how to get your data. I have that there. You can type in your profile name and then click fetch tracks. I have quite a bit of data here. Yours may be a little bit less. So it's fetching 73 pages. They did code it pretty neatly. So props, Benjamin Ben. You can save a partial file there if you wanted to give up halfway through, and you can also cancel that as well. There's the warning that that is a web page and it's external data, so we know we're good to go here. We're fine as far as security. And then these are all the other graphs. So we're going to take a look at those, but our goal is to download right there in Tableau. If you can see that on the upper right, there's an icon to download the Tableau file. If you click that, you'll see a few options. And because I was so gracious to create this for you, the Tableau workbook is an option there. So when you're publishing to Tableau public, you can choose to enable that or disable that. And And so I want everyone to be able to download this and create much better graphs than I did. I'm just giving you a starter. I'm not a designer. I'm sure you're much more talented at design and bringing in all sorts of elements there. I just want to give you a little boost to get going and everything like that. You can also save these if you want to, print out my top artist as a PDF or whatever. Maybe make a PowerPoint presentation. Tell people, wow, this guy just got great weird music taste from emo to dance music. I don't know what happened, but we can click that Tableau workbook, and I've already done that, so it's up here ready to go. And double click that. So we're just getting the source data file here, the CSV, so just a simple comma separated file. You can save that by clicking save, and then open up this already pre-created Tableau file up here, and we can start looking around to see what Taylor already created. You can arrow around here all the way to the front. So I made a whole bunch of stuff, but we're just going to talk through it. It's all kind of the same thing, but we want to take this data we have and start to ask questions and then be able to build graphs that visualize something that'll help you answer that question. So this is what we just used. That's fine. But what we need to do is replace that data of my songs with yours, if that's what you want to do. If you want to, make me a playlist, then by all means, just use mine. Um, here is our data. We've got our dimensions, our album, artist, date, and song. So not a whole bunch of stuff, but enough to get a few insights. And then the count. So this is just a simple count based on those rows of that data of how many plays. So if I'm going to visualize this, I'm probably going to rename that plays on the graphs instead of this long thing that's last FM underscore Red Hawk Ragnar count. Like that's just not a human facing user sort of thing to graph, but we will get to that. So we need to look at our data up here, last FM Scrabbles, and you can right click or command click on a Mac and replace that data. It might come up with a pop up, it might pop up this way in a different way, and you can find that little down arrow next to it, edit that connection, and replace it when you find it where it is. And that should refresh like that did this here. Obviously, this is the same data because it is also mine. But yeah, it should flash through here and repeat. But you can take a quick glance, and if you don't have the exact same dates and songs as me, then you are good to go. And you are refreshed. You might have to click refresh up there. That's another way to do it. So just quickly checking it out. We've got a couple dashboards there loading up. Just kind of through a few things there. One thing to think about is what's quickly understandable to a user and what's not, and like what kind of information you want to get across. So I wanted to see like the different top artists and songs by year and to see like that first full year that after I started using last.fm compared to the last full year. So one thing to think about when you're graphing everything is partial and full years. A lot of times, like a total too wouldn't make sense, like an average per year if you're only a couple months into the year, or something like that. But just wanted to get a good representation of, what bands I listened to way back then. Like Death Cab for Cutie was pretty substantial. And so here are all those songs, like a movie script ending and a lack of color here, and the 405, a lot of great music. And then what actually stuck with the nostalgia factor, did they have some new songs, or was it just kind of listening back to 2006? So it looks like I'm still listening to a little bit, but not nearly as much as I did back then. But that's okay. And then looks like some new bands as well. So Angus and Julia Stone. I don't know if they were in high school back then or maybe elementary school. They're pretty young, so they probably weren't producing in 2006. That's my guess. And then yeah, probably started listening to them around 2019. So those are the things that pop up. So, just a few things we can do. And of course, you are probably far better designers than me out there, but here are some things that I thought would be interesting. So, what is my favorite band? So, how would we find that out? So, instead of just manually clicking on Death Cab for Cutie on one of those graphs we're looking at and saying keep only, that's one way you could do it. So, let's see if we find maybe an artist one. So you could just right click on Death Cab for Cutie and keep only, and that's it. That's one way to do it. There's another way you can, and that would be dynamic, which is the reason why I did this is because I knew you would be replacing this data with yours, and you probably have a different favorite band, unless you're from Seattle, and then maybe it is also Death Cab for Cutie, at least in my age range, but maybe a little bit more. So you can take artist and drop it into filter, and then click edit filter, and you can do top, and so that's the top artist because I'm choosing artist in the filter, but it's by a different field, and that field is that last FM count. So that top one. So you could do the top uh, three artists. Oh, Bluetooth keyboard doesn't want to work. That's okay. We'll do the top three, click apply, and so now it's the top three artists. So that'll make it a little bit different. Maybe we put artist on the board as well, maybe in columns. There we go. So now we've got a little bit different of a view. Let's fit entire view. There we go. So totally different graph now. Now we can look at that top three. So we've got Death Cab for Cutie, Rocky Vodolato, and the Get Up Kids. And look, I'm gonna sort it. So I always like to do that ascending or descending sorts with that button, so it's not kind of disjointed and you're going from biggest to smallest. Now we've got gold, silver, bronze. We've got the winners here. I do have that label set to not allow it to overlap the marks. Because it gets all messy like that. But that's why you wouldn't see it maybe there because it doesn't have enough name or doesn't have enough room for that. Although that might be a no album one, so that's a null one. So songs that are not on an album, so that's why that's gonna be there. So those are kind of, I don't know if I'm gonna include that or not, depending on how I'd present it. I guess those are the singles and everything like that. So I'm just gonna exclude that for now, so I can see just the names of the full albums. Um, Even though we're not really in an album world really anymore. But here you go. So now you can see they've been pretty prolific over the years. You can see the Get Up Kids as well and Rocky Vodolato. So just a way of saying like, okay, what are my favorite band's top albums? And that is a quick way to answer that question. There's a bunch of stuff we can do here too. So top songs with the years I listened to them. So that's what the year is from the date, but I just pulled only the year into color. So the count of the plays of the song is what's displayed on there. And notice I changed that name, double clicked on the axes, popped it up there, and changed that to count, or you could do, and Bluetooth doesn't like me again. All right, fine. We could change that to plays. That sounds a little bit more, uh, viewer friendly, novice friendly. So here are songs, and you can see the total plays there, but which year? So you can see 2019 in that dark red is substantially represented by a lot of these counts. So I was just on a tear listening to that in 2019 and 2020. 2021 a little bit less. So maybe I was traveling a little bit more than the prior year there, and just at home listening to Spotify. So who knows? All sorts of fun stuff you can do with this. Like some of these, are going to tell you more information than others. Some would be great in print, and some are better digitally. So as an interactive graph, you looking at this and you're just like, that is a bunch of circles. That tells me nothing. There are no numbers. There's no artists. There's nothing. But I can see maybe quantity wise a little bit when there's like a thin kind of line, kind of like a tree ring or something like that, versus a big healthy year with a bunch more. So that's kind of a good metaphor. But as an interactive one, you can change that hover, which is in Tableau is called a tooltip, and you can click tooltip up here, and like for example, we have that song year of date, and so this just pulls in the automatic exact labels for that. And I'm going to make this a little bit more human. So we've got the year. I'm going to say in the year that uh, let's put in the year song was played times. So It's all human sentences, which is awesome. So if I was going to publish this in something like the New York Times or the Economist or something like this, at least it would be a little more palatable. You could even make part of it bold, um, like that. I think that's is that the bold part or the other part bold? Unbold, and this is bold. Okay, I don't know. We'll see what happens. Okay, there you go. And maybe we could even. That was the label. The tooltip, we can even make that, let's make that size 15. Of course, you can experiment with other typefaces. Don't just be limited to the Tableau one. So there you go. Getting a little more interactive with that style. I know I normally don't like colors more than 4 or 5 for the screen. It's just too much for a brain to comprehend. But in this case, it's like interactive, and there are a number of years, and you do get some, direction from this is 2005, and then it's actually 2021, and then 22 out here. So it's not as confusing. I probably would even hide that legend there, but all sorts of fun stuff we can do with that. Um, some of these could be interesting. Let's see if we let's see. That was the one we were looking at before. So I wanted to do this in 2 ways. So this is a quick way to reduce it to 25 artists. So I wanted to see just like an overview of like what are the top 25 that I really listened to over time, and like when were there ebbs and flows to that listening. And so we can see pretty quickly. And if I take out song, we can see it that way pretty obviously. And I'm going to click Control or Command on a Mac and drop artist also to color. That did not do the control. So hold on. Yeah, Control Z, undo. And we want to control on the artist and drop to color. And so now we can see Death Cab for Cutie, for example, that big run in 2006, and then it coming back has nostalgia, hits me pretty hard, and coming back there. So as seeing this in like a few seconds, you can see early on that was like a big player, as well as Ozma, Rocky, and the Get Up Kids. And then later on, you can see the heavy hitters as well, and the increase in volume overall. What I had at first when we were looking at it was song. So I also had song on color, and that was a additional layer of interestingness. So I can see overall that artist and how distributed across different songs that would be. So Angus and Julia Stone looks like there's a few songs I was listening to, not just one. So I know this is actually a song that was on like a yoga playlist of mine. It's not even on an album I'm aware of. It is just that song. So there are no other colors within that artist. So it's kind of a fun way to see how, diverse of the songs of that artist, or is it just one song that you're like hitting quite a bit there. So just some fun stuff to play with. Um, Top songs by a year. So that's kind of the song view. Feel free to play around with this. Again, on label, I have it set to not overlap because it would be kind of a headache like that. So you're not going to always see it there. You can work with some formatting to try to get more on there, and the size of the label there, you can make that smaller and maybe it'll fit some more. This one I chose to put the year as well as the name there. So you can, of course, add more things to that label. So if you click Control and add, so let's see, we've got, it looks like the song name there, as well as the date. You could also add the artist to the label, and it is there. Let's see if we can change that as well. Maybe make, I don't think it can get any smaller than 8. So, but you can change this around, and you can certainly um, change colors and things like that. So maybe it's just artist, and there you go. You can change it to green, and that is how it goes. So lots of things to play with here. Just try to explore and try to say, what is a question I can answer. So I try to do a few of these different things, like we saw the how it started versus how it's going. We saw what are my favorite bands, albums, and songs. So the album is in color, and the songs are there as well. So you can see the differences there, and I'm not a huge fan of that one. This one's a little more interesting. You've got album and color with a kind of a rounded line chart here, and you can see how much I listen to that of my favorite band over time. So got a big kick out of that iTunes Originals soundtrack, but you can see the fits and starts over the years. You can look at favorite albums in general. So it looks like 12 plays of This Is Me Smiling, which is a cool Chicago group that I was listening to back in the day. So that went nuts in 2011. So this is how you kind of answer this question. So, like, what was the album that I played the most within a year? And there we go. And we can also edit that tooltip because that looks terrible. So you could change that to plays at least. If not like a sentence, then at least make it a little bit cleaned up like that. And now when I hover over, you can see that that's plays. So another thing we could check out before I go is animations. So animations in Tableau are kind of interesting. They're not like super amazing, but you can tweak them and make them look a little bit cooler. So instead of just having date on the columns or rows or even the filters, you can click Control and bring date up here to pages and drop it there. So now when we have pages, you can also right click on that and show that filter. And that's what is over here. And you can see it's got this drop down with the dates and these little controls with play and then a speed thing of 1 bar, 2 bars, or 3 bars, kind of like a cell phone, but on its side. And you can choose fast and click play. So now it's going 2005, 2007, and you can see that go. Um, like I said, with the circle chart, I have the one set so it doesn't overlap, but it is kind of fun to cycle through this and see it through the years. You can do that on any of these graphs to see how it changes, and it's a little bit of an art form to get it where the animations, moving smoothly at the right speed where you can kind of take it in, and you can also see some stuff like that. There's also some options there on history on how to show, like, as the line moves, you can kind of have these little tracer sort of deals and stuff like that. So that's something else you can try. So yeah, give this a go. Let me know what you think, and message us on Twitter or something like that. But we will also do maybe a live stream of this at some point in the future on Twitch. But thanks for following the Fun with Data series, and there'll be a lot more of these to come. So thanks, everybody.